now,
Okay.
and then I'm going to click go live in 3, 2, 1. And we are live. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of the Project Egg Show. I'm your host, Ben Gothard, and today we have the honor of speaking with Rob Gallo. How you doing today, Rob?
Doing great, Ben. How are you?
I am fantastic, and I am
Awesome.
so excited to ask you, what is your story?
My story. I don't know how far back you want me to go, but I'll start just from the business standpoint. Not
let's
that
go
far.
all the way. Let's
all
go
the way,
all the way back.
So from a business standpoint, I think that's what most of your listeners would appreciate. I started an online casino in 1997, before it was like all the rage. And it was kind of funny how it happened. I was on vacation with a buddy of mine, and we were in St. Kitts, and it was him and his wife, me and my wife, and 2 little kids at the time. And someone had come to him with a prospectus. They wanted him to get the license for them, for their online casino that they wanted to launch in Antigua. And he had the master license. I said, that's a great idea. You should open your own. He goes, okay, you could run it. I'm like, all right, whatever. I didn't know the difference between the whole percentage of blackjack and video poker. I said, how hard could it be? I'll figure it out. So I went up to Toronto in June of 97. I said, we want it to look like this, and secured the domain names, and they built it. We went live November 3rd of 97. And we did 60,000 the first month, 100 the next, and just took off like a rocket ship. It was unbelievable. So then I tell my wife, listen, we're moving to Antigua. She's like, what? Yeah, pack the kids up. I had a 5-year-old and a 3-year-old. And we moved to Antigua. We went down on June 1st to look at the place, right? And I had it set up that we were going to look at schools on Monday. Tuesday, we were going to look at banking. And Wednesday, we were going to look at apartments or houses to live in. So we get down there. My partner says, I just bought a 55-foot yacht. We're going to go to St. Martin on the boat. Do you want to go? I looked at my wife. I was like, yeah. So we're going to go on Wednesday. So Tuesday, at the first place that we looked at it as a house, I'm like, all right, we'll take it. Got the kids in the school, set up a bank account by 3:00. And then the next day we went to St. Martin. So that was the start of my entrepreneurial spirit. And the run lasted until 2010 when I sold the business. And then I kind of backed into consulting just through happenstance. The former poker manager for the company that I was working with, Cryptologic, called me and he says, I've got this guy that invented a machine that scrambles, shuffles, and deals real decks of cards and then digitizes the results so you play online using real decks of cards. I was like, wow, this is pretty cool. So I went out there and I saw their business operation and came aboard. And that's what started my consulting business. And because I couldn't be retired. I was just bored out of my mind. And that's pretty much it. That's how I got started. And now I started a business with my daughter 2 years ago that helps companies build better relationships with their customers through digital engagement. That's where we're at.
So in 1997, it seems like that was kind of a whim. It was like, oh, yeah, sure, I can operate that.
Yeah, I had no clue, but I said I'll figure it out. And the funny thing is, so the software package was just casino. Just the casino was, it was like 3 slot machines and blackjack, and it was about 5 meg, 4.5 or 5 meg, and it took 3 hours to download. Could you imagine? On a 14.4 baud rate modem back in the day. You don't even know what that is.
That's amazing. So how did you actually go about figuring that out? I mean, it seems like you didn't really have any sort of background in it, but you had this opportunity. And so what steps did you take to actually figure out what to do, get it up and running, and launch that thing? I mean, that's an incredible from 0 to 60 and then 100. Like, that's nuts.
Great question, Ben. I couldn't Google it. Obviously, this is pre-Google days, right? Well, you Google everything now. So in essence, I looked at it from just a marketing standpoint. I wasn't the target market. I'm not a casino player. I play poker, but I'm not a casino guy. But I understood the psychographic and demographic of the people who did. I mean, I frequented casinos through, I'd walk through the casino and see what it was about. But the short of it is that we just built it, and it's not what we will build it and they will come. We built it and we put it in the right places. So we did marketing campaigns with, I'm going to date myself, Lycos. I don't even know if you don't even know what Lycos is. Again, these are Alta Vista was a search engine before search engines became Google, or vice versa. So we did strategic marketing campaigns. We did a campaign with a company called MyPoints, who's still in existence actually, and we bonused people points in their system for logging into our platform. So from a marketing standpoint, it wasn't that difficult. From an operational standpoint, we were thankful that the company that we licensed the software from managed all that. So we had a licensing deal with them and they managed that stuff. But we built our own loyalty program from scratch because I recognized, if you went into a land-based casino, everyone gets a rewards card and they give you a benefit for playing and blah, blah, blah. So we built one. And by the time it was finished, we had 5 casino properties and it tied them all into one where you can go earn from this one and burn them off at another one, which was still in our little ecosystem. It was fun.
So it seems like there were some strategic partnerships with marketing companies that put you in the exact right spot in front of the right people.
Yeah. So I don't know if you're a Seinfeld fan, but he's like the luckiest guy. He has one episode, he says, things just work out for me. That's how it works for me. I am the luckiest guy in the world. And again, I can't get into the full story of my background and upbringing because I wouldn't want to bore you to tears. But oddly enough, I'm in the midst of writing a book about exactly that because it's interesting. Everyone that I speak to is like, wow, it's an interesting story. Nonetheless, the relationships that we built with those partners were symbiotic. So we would help them because obviously we're generating revenue for them. So we did more revenue share deals rather than just straight up, ad buys. And we built relationships with 5,500 affiliates. I mean, realistically, maybe 600 were doing anything. And of those 600, the top 40 were probably driving 85 to 90% of our business. But I think you hit the nail on the head, Ben, and that is strategic relationships with certain key providers or service providers is critical in today's world of the entrepreneur who's thinking about, wow, I've got this great idea, this great product, service, but I can't get it in front of the masses. So if you align yourself with the right people and it becomes a win-win, then everyone wins.
When you were having those conversations with those strategic partners and with the affiliates and those people who could put you in front of the right people, what were you actually talking about? Like, what was that conversation? How did it go down?
Okay. Another great question. So in essence, it first started off with a straight media buy. So let's just say, for example, a website like MyPoints, we said, all right, we're going to pay you, I think it was a $10 or $20 CPA, cost per acquisition for a new customer. And then after maybe 6 or 7 months, we recognized the amount of money that we were making from it. And we wanted to get more exposure on their site, but give them more of the upside. So we put together a case study that kind of explained, which is sort of counterintuitive in the sense that if we're already making money, why would we give them more money?
Right.
But it's the reasoning is simple, is because if you understand that we're not going to be we're going to have competition coming online soon, and that's another part of the story I'll dive into. But the key is that if you create those strategic relationships, they're going to stay with you forever, right? If you over deliver, a potential partner is going to feel that sort of bond with you. And that's what we've done. So, but we did have to change later on down the road in the sense that we had affiliates that we were paying lifetime commissions for, 25 to 35% of the value of a customer for life. Yeah.
That's
So
huge.
yeah, it was really huge. But in the heyday when we were making tons of money, it was great. But then what happened was, and what the big red flag was, we had an affiliate from France that was sending us tons of traffic initially. Then it kind of died off, but we were still paying him every month, and he wasn't sending us any new customers. And I'm like,
Mm.
nah, this is no good. So then we had to revamp the program, and we grandfathered him, of course, but from then forward, we would say, you need to send us at least 10 new customers a month to retain this level, or 20 customers to retain this level, and for those that are listening, my hand is moving up higher instead of the ones that could see me. But anyway, so you have to kind of be pliable and adaptable as things change in the environment. That's why I'm a proponent of writing business plans, but in all honesty, as soon as they reach fresh air, they're almost useless, because it shows you've done your homework, but it doesn't really prepare an entrepreneur for the changes that are going to come down the pike that they didn't foresee or forecast in their business plan. So it's important to have just, a long-term strategic objective, and be able to pivot and move and change and adapt if need be.
So it seems like there are really two elements here. One is with the strategic partners, you wanted to give them, once you saw the return of working with them on the straight, I put in a certain amount of marketing dollars, I get back a certain number of customers. Once that proved to be a good fit, then take it to the next level of, let's actually do some sort of rev share deal, or profit share deal, however you want to say it.
Yep. Rev share.
And that way tie them in to where they're more, they're more
Vested.
bought in. They're more,
Yeah,
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, 100%.
Exactly. So that
Yeah.
way, oh, yeah.
Yeah, no. And the precipice for that, the reasoning for that is, as we started to grow, we were probably one of the first casinos online. Maybe there was 5 other operators. And then a behemoth out of Israel came out called Casino on Net. And it was the precursor to 888. It was just, they were spending $30 million a year advertising in 1999. That was more
Wow.
than Microsoft, more than IBM, anyone advertising on the internet. It was unbelievable. So our CPA, cost per acquisition for a customer, went from $20 to $350 in certain markets, because they were pricing people out of the market. They came in for a land grab. So what we did, again, getting back to the reasoning behind what we did, was sort of seeing the writing on the wall in certain markets. We said, listen, we need to build strong strategic relationships with these key valued providers of customers to us, to give them that partnership, so to say, feel, where they're getting a percentage of the revenue long term. So then they're running special promotions. So we did a promotion with one of our affiliates where we gave away 100 seats to the World Series of Poker. That's $10,000 entry each.
Wow.
Plus another $250,000 in prize money. So I think it was the top 7 guys that won this rake race that we did through these promotions, won a private jet from London to Vegas. So, because these are all European, big, high rolling poker players.
Mm-hmm.
The next tier was like from number 8 down to number 17 or 20, got first class airfare from London to Vegas. And everybody got like $2,000 in spending money when they got there. It was $1.2 million that the promotion cost us, but it put us on the map, and it was big. It was called One Sick Promo. So we were sitting in the office down in Antigua, and we're trying to come up with a name for the promo. And we were convinced that it was going to be a European that won the World Series. This was in 2007, just after 2006. I don't know if your listeners are familiar, but they changed the law in the United States and made it illegal for banks to do business with online gambling companies. So I was sitting on the beach at Half Moon Bay on, I'm going to say it was October 1st of 2006. And I get a phone call from my rep in Canada, in Toronto, at Cryptologic. And she says, as of Tuesday noon, We no longer take US bets. And I'm like, what? So 85% of our business evaporated overnight. It was
Jeez.
traumatic, So we downsized from 40 employees to 12. We focused on the European market. That was the first quarter. Q4 of '06 was the first quarter that we were ever not profitable. And the first Q1 of 2007, we were also losing hemorrhaging money because of the deals that we had already had with companies that we couldn't do business with anymore in the US. So I say thank George W. for signing that bill, but whatever. So again, what happened was when we did this promotion for later that year in 2007, we were pretty sure that a European was going to win it. So we were thinking like Abbey Road, or like it was the British invasion, or someone from Europe was going to come and win. But we're sitting in the conference room and we're just hammering around ideas and whatever. I said, no matter what it is, it's just a sick promo, giving away $1 million too. Right. So then we just, this guy, Shane, who I still work with, says, how about that? One sick promo. He goes, let me mock something up. And he came out with a microsite. It was the sickest thing ever. But poker players are sick by nature anyway. But people recognized who Sun Poker was after that. It was a great run. A lot of fun.
And so what was the ripple effect of that?
Well, the ripple effect, unfortunately, I don't want to say it backfired, but when we became as big as we were in the Cryptologic network, we started to gain the notoriety, and other licensees of their platform became, I'm going to say, jealous or whatever, and they started poaching our players, meaning offering our customers more in bonuses and cash back and rake back and these things. And it just became a nightmare. I almost got in a fist fight with a guy in London at a conference for licensees, because this guy was calling my very biggest customer. Now, this one customer was generating $80,000 a month in revenue for us, one customer in rake.
Wow.
Yeah, the guy was just a maniac, playing 24 tables at the same time. So they offered him more rake back, and I wanted to grab this guy by the throat. But anyway, I digress. That became, unfortunately, the undoing of the Cryptologic platform. We moved to another platform called Playtech. And like I said, then I sold the business in 2010 and retired. So now it's somebody else's headache.
So let's talk a little bit more about competition, because it seems like you had a runway for a number of years where you were the biggest, baddest player in town, and there really was not anybody that could go toe to toe with you.
True. That's another great question, Ben, and I'm going to relate that to, so back in the day in 97, the barrier to entry was pretty high because there wasn't many suppliers of software. And the software that we had was so advanced that it took 5 hours to download. So, that was a hurdle to overcome. But the key is that being first to market was a huge advantage. One of the first to market was a huge advantage because people were like, "Ooh, this is new, this is novel." But this casino business, people understand, right? If you're launching a business now that maybe it's a SaaS product, or maybe it's some sort of unique niche that people don't know how it works, it's a different battle, because early adopters, so early adopter end users of a platform for an entrepreneur who's out there now listening, thinking, I've got the greatest thing since sliced bread. He knows it, his wife knows it, but he can't get anybody else to bite. And the reason that he can't is because the learning curve of what the product is, does, the benefits, the values, the features, is tough. Casino people know, right? So we had the fortune of Bugsy Siegel back in the 40s or 50s, whatever it was, of creating the casino industry. We just happened to be at the right place at the right time, taking it digital, right? So again, to try and tie it into what someone might be thinking now about their product or service, early adopters are great, but they're not going to pay your bills until you reach the critical mass, and then you get the tail end of the bell curve. That's where you're going to start becoming super successful.
So then how does that fit in with your competitors?
So competition is also going to, there's going to be early adopters in the development of any new technology, right? So if you look at let's say Intuit, right? So you have um, software as a service for your accounting. Now there's tons of other products out there, but they did such a big land grab that they took over the market. If you can't go anywhere now without seeing a Rocket Mortgage ad or whatever. So competition is is easy if you're that big. And the way to become that big is to start off early, but you have to get the momentum and the flywheel running and spinning to such a degree that you can overcome a behemoth coming in and pricing you out of the market, which unfortunately, again, in the casino industry, it wasn't easy to do. 888 is still in business. In fact, they're flourishing. But most of the operators that started when I started are still struggling to keep up because of financial constraints. And that was primarily because we licensed the software. So we had a license fee to pay where they didn't. So a $350 cost per acquisition fee for us was counterproductive. We were at break even. When all was said and done, our margins were at the time, let's say 25%. Lifetime value of a customer is $1,000. We're making $250 lifetime after operational, everything. Can't pay $350 for a $250 profit, you know? So getting back to what you said about competition, you know, you need that niche. You need to stay ahead of the competition in certain key areas. Or the other way is just through sheer massive exposure through, you know, mainstream massive advertising like Intuit does now with QuickBooks Online. That's what I was going for.
So it seems like two of the keys were taking something that people already understand. They fundamentally get it already.
Yeah.
And bringing that online and being one of the very first people to do that and having some time to gain customers and get market share before the huge players came in and started just spending absurd amounts of money driving up the cost for everybody.
Yes, exactly. Exactly 100%. So I'll give you a real world example now of a new business that I just started with my daughter a couple of years ago. Based on all the experiences that I've had for the last 20 years in business, it's a loyalty platform. I'm not going to pitch it. That's not what I'm here for. But it's a loyalty platform, and we have a unique niche. And some of the key features that we do, our competition doesn't do. That's number one. Number two is the size of the market. So there's 3.3 billion rewards cards that are in circulation in the United States. That's 19 per person, I believe it is, for every single human being, even little babies that never use them. And most people don't use them. But there's only 430 million that are using what's called a coalition loyalty program, which represents about 13% of the overall thing. And we see the market in a trajectory of the early portion of the bell curve, right? Only 13% have adopted. So by the time it gets to 50%, there's going to be significant competition for sure. But we built the platform in such a way that we make it irresistible for customers because it's a fully managed solution. And that's, I think, that the biggest issue is, and it gets back to what I was saying earlier in terms of building relationships, right? So now we build relationships with customers as sort of an add-on to their existing product that takes it to the next level. So, you know, back to your initial point with regard to competition, I could see others getting into this industry because, listen, I'm not a genius. I see the numbers, I see the trend. It was like casino business in '97, and just it's going to I can't even say that word. It's going to rise exponentially.
So I'm curious by this idea of building relationships with customers. What do you think are the key points there, like the most fundamental core aspects of relationship building with customers that people are just not doing, but they should be doing um, as of right now.
Yeah. So in the world today of, social media, people think it's good enough just to post something on your Facebook page or your Twitter, your Instagram, and you're going to reach the masses. And that's mass media, that's mass marketing. I get it. But now technology is at such a point where you could personalize the message to Ben Gothard, just specific for you, based on what your needs, wants, and desires are. Now, sometimes it gets creepy. If you think about, the retargeting, you're online, you're searching for something, you're searching for a widget, and then you're going about your business. You come back later and you search for something else and you see that widget again. You're like, holy crap, this is kind of weird. But you've explicitly given them the permission to market to you in that fashion. So taking it to a step of a customer, when you have a customer already in your database and you know something about that customer that you think that customer would like or appreciate. So Amazon started off with the, other customers that bought this, you might like this, right? So it's taking that to the next level. If I know that you like to travel, you have a small dog, and you just bought a ceiling fan from Home Depot, and I have this information available to me, I'm going to tailor something that fits into that realm, that you're going to say, well, you have an adjustable switch now that you can see that might be useful for you, or, a pet door for your small dog, or whatever the case may be. And again, without getting too creepy. But that sort of builds relationships with people who know the people that they're doing business with. And, now with AI getting as good as it is, you could also, and I see a lot of the bot chat or chat bots now that are starting to recognize what you're asking and funneling you in the right direction. But that's just out of a knowledge base. But if they knew it was you, based on you saying, hey, I'm interested in this other product. I have this one from you now, but I'm interested in this. They could tailor a message specifically for you that might be more appealing.
So it seems like we're using data that we've gathered from the customer to then make a more educated and customized and personalized guess about what they would next need, or what they would need the next step for them in the evolution of their relationship with the company.
Yeah. So let's say you just went out and bought a new car. You bought a Jeep Grand Cherokee, right? And you're in the Northeast. I don't know where. No, you're in Louisiana.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Yeah. So let's say you're in the Northeast, just for argument's sake, where it snows. It doesn't snow down in Louisiana unless I'm missing something. But if you got a message then from the dealership saying, hey, by the way, we've done a deal with WeatherTech. You can get full WeatherTech gear for all your, for the wheel well, the foot wells in the front and the back and the way back and stuff like that, which I have in all my cars, and I think they're great. But they would obviously need to know that you just bought that car. So that's one little example of leveraging the data to make something better for you.
So is the idea to basically work with companies who have existing customer data and map out like the journey for those customers forever? Like are you saying, okay, we're going to plan out the next 10 years, or is it we're going to try to plan out the next best move, and then based on the results of that, then we'll recalibrate and test the next one? Like, how does it actually work?
The latter of those two statements, Ben, and the reason for it, again, is A/B testing. So let's just imagine, for example, that you're going to do exactly what you said. We're going to have a message that comes out to Ben and a message that comes out to Sarah, and we'll see which one does better, just in general. But then we'll try that same message that we sent to Ben over to Sarah and see how she responds to it. It's complicated, but it's and most companies don't want to do it. They don't want to hire a whole team to manage this. But when you have an existing database of customers and you have data on what they do within your four walls of your business, that's great. So let's use casinos as an example. If you come into a casino, Ben, and you put your card in that slot machine, they're going to know that you come on Thursdays primarily. You're playing 25-cent machines. You like the triple line, the 2-tier machines that have the screen up top. They'll know all those things about you. But they don't know what you do when you're home. They don't know your travel habits. They don't know all these other things. We give the customer an incentive to participate in a program that allows you to earn points and rewards that you can only use back at the casino. But then we also filter that data that we receive, that you bought a ceiling fan from Home Depot, that you prefer Home Depot over Lowe's, that it was a Hunter ceiling fan that had the 3 things and a light, whatever the case may be, whatever they share with us, that they can then, meaning the casino, can leverage that data to make your experience more personable. So let's just say on the casino side, they are about to do a promotion to give away a gift card for a Home Depot or Lowe's, and they're trying to figure out which one. Now they can look in their database and say, seems like 65% of our people prefer Home Depot over Lowe's. Let's make it a Home Depot card, something that speaks to those people. And then you can get even more granular, like I said, but we only have a couple of hours or an hour show here. I don't want to get into the nitty-gritty details, but you get the idea. You want to give more to the customer in terms of touch points throughout their lives, in their everyday life, to get them thinking about your brand more often.
That is so smart. It's rewarding them for sharing more about themselves. And in the act of sharing, you're staying top of mind.
Yes.
And you're getting more information about them, and you're incentivizing them to come back and do more business with you.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome. It seems to me like a company like an e-commerce company.
Yeah.
This would be just spectacular for. I mean, I was interestingly enough, I was reading this book earlier about why products go viral or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And it was talking about how there was this company who had a new flash sale every day. And so people would come, and they knew that there was a certain time limit or a certain quantity of inventory, and they had to come at a certain time to get that flash sale. Well, it seems like something like that would be so perfectly matched up with this idea,
Mm-hmm.
because the more you know about the customer, the better products you could bring in for something like that sale or the next thing to offer them. I mean, that's like shooting fish in a barrel at that point.
Yeah, but it's a win-win-win, because the company that's selling the stuff wins because they're moving more product. The person that's buying it is getting what they want. They're not having to deal with all the other BS. And then the brand or the company who's facilitating it is also making a transactional fee on the thing. So, it turns out as a win across the board.
So do you see any obstacles or roadblocks in the future as far as people's privacy concerns? I mean, Facebook is a shining, glorious example of, they do a great job, and it's in the spirit of serving customers better, I believe, or, I tend to be very positive person. So at least I hope they're doing that. But there's a lot of backlash, and people are just a lot of times unhappy about the amount of information that they themselves have volunteered to give. So do you see any sort of obstacles in the future regarding that?
Well, have you ever clicked I agree to terms and services and terms and conditions of privacy policy without reading it?
Yep.
So does the rest of the world, because no one has time to read it. Unfortunately, it is the necessary evil in today's world, because data is the new currency. Data is more powerful now than the US dollar. And I firmly believe that, because someone will use it in exchange for US dollars. So it's almost like Bitcoin. You know what I mean? It's in the ether, in the sense that the people that are using it are, meaning using the data, are leveraging it for their own purposes. But if they use it for good instead of evil, like you mentioned, that's the hope.
Right.
Yeah. But to get back to your point, do I see it as an issue? Yeah, I mean, the EU has already changed their rules to make it that every single website needs to let you know what they're collecting. And now people are starting to do it here. In fact, we did it on our site to accept cookies when you get there. A year ago, we never did that. But again, I think unfortunately the complacency of the average consumer is they don't care. The average consumer, I mean, there are consumer advocates who do care, and they are alarming people at a rate to say that, you should be careful of what you're giving out in terms of the information on yourself. But again, it's, what would George Orwell think back to 1984? It's the precursor of, we've been lulled to sleep for the last 15, 20 years in the internet world.
Well, honestly, I feel like it really is up to us as people to make the right decisions with it, because everybody clicks the agree button.
Yeah.
Everybody agrees to the terms of service. So I think, but actually, I think it's both on us as the ones clicking agree and the ones offering the ability to click agree. I mean, I think it's on everybody as people. Like, there is a certain responsibility that we have to take on both sides.
I agree, but and I just clicked the agree button to all that you just said. So that was my agreeing to your statement that you just came with. But seriously though, if you sat and read what was in there, you would never click agree. But you take it exactly like you said at face value, that the people at Google, the people at Facebook, the people at Amazon and Netflix are going to respect the data and do the right thing with it to make more money for themselves. Sure, that's fine. But to make the experience easier, better. I mean, when I start typing on my phone and it starts finishing my sentences, I'm happy that it is. Or when I do audio dictate and it turns it into text, I'm happy that it does that. But I know the data that they're collecting on me. I know the voice patterns and speech stuff that they're collecting on me. I've watched videos on how they do it. It's fascinating stuff. But it is the next step towards artificial intelligence and being, scary, but still exciting at the same time.
So you think artificial intelligence is going to be scary?
Scary in the sense that it will become more and more accurate over time, right? It'll become more targeted in its ability to detect faces. So, like I was just telling you before, while we were chatting before we went live, we're in the process of moving. I've taken all the tens of thousands of photos that I've had from when my kids were little, and we're digitizing them. Right. So I have them backed up in two places because, as we spoke, if it's not in two places, it's nowhere. So I have it on my own, 2 terabyte drive here, and then I also upload them to Google Photos. Now, Google Photos has the ability to do facial recognition to the degree that if I click on someone's face, it'll find all the pictures with that person's face back 15, 20 years. I mean, I haven't looked to see if it recognized my adults, children, as they were kids. I haven't even gone that far, but it's uncanny how well it works. And that's not a mistake. So now when you have these cameras that are all over the world and you're walking into, and again, I go back to casino business because I've been in it for 20 years. When you walk into a casino, they'll know that, hey, Ben, this guy's, a card shark. We don't want to let him play, blah, blah, blah. It's already in practice.
So what's the finality of that? Where is that gonna go beyond just being more accurate or being, a bit more creepy with the photo thing? Like, what's the conclusion of that?
I think it goes into the point of the people who are using it, if they're good people, so to say, and I'm using those air quotes for those people that are listening, then you're okay. But if it gets into the wrong hands and people use it nefariously, then there's going to be issues. And that's really what it comes to. I mean, I don't know if you saw the original Wall Street with Michael Douglas, but greed is good. That's the biggest problem, is people are going to leverage that data for their own greedy purposes, which, that's the scary part when I say it comes into that scary stuff.
So let's shift gears a little bit. Um, why did you decide to sell your casino business in the late, uh, I guess, the late,
2010.
yeah, early 2000s, but late of that decade? Yeah.
Yeah. So as I mentioned, we lost 85% of our business. And then in 2008 really was the turning point. Our kids went to primary and secondary school down in Antigua, which were fantastic. They were actually a year ahead. But there was no, further education. So we made the decision to come back, and we came back in 2008. And I would travel back and forth every 3 weeks and spend 3 weeks here, 3 weeks there. And it became kind of tough. I mean, I had a great team down there that were running everything. So I was kind of hands off and more overseeing things, and I dial in through my VPN and stuff. But it just became too much, the traveling and not being with my kids for all the things that they were doing. So we had the opportunity to sell. Buyer came along and we sold it. And then, I moved back here full time. And like I said, then started the consulting business.
So then, when did it really click for you that you wanted to start your new business with your daughter?
So she graduated from business school, I want to say 2015. And as parents do these days, we paid for her education. I was fortunate enough to be able to afford to pay for her full college education, but it was literally $250,000. So I had to get my money's worth. And to get my money's worth, she was going to have to start working for me. So, well, with me, not for me. No, with me. So what we did, we initially looked at a company that I wanted to buy. It was a Long Island company called Long Island Loyalty that has a pretty neat idea. They have a coalition loyalty program. I knew it wanted to be in loyalty, where they have about 250 merchants in their little coalition. And you could buy something from one store and get 10% of that purchase price loaded onto this stored value card. And then you could burn it off at anyone else in the coalition. So you could go to a deli and buy a hamburger or a sandwich and get 10% stored on it. Go to a florist and buy flowers and get that 10% earned as credit. And we were like, wow, this is pretty cool. So we wanted to digitize it though. So we spoke with the owners. We met with them a couple of times. We just couldn't come to terms. So we said, you know what, let's just build our own. So that's what we did. I reached out to the guys that built the original platform for us. And we built what is our platform today. So we own every line of code outright. And we have a relationship. We license to other companies and we run it as a fully managed solution.
You kind of cut out a little bit. You said you built it to where you built it from the ground up, so you own every line of code.
Yeah.
That's the last thing I heard.
I'm sorry. Yeah. So we built every line of code and we have 950 merchants in the platform, and we license the platform to companies that have a big enough loyalty base to leverage it, that are looking to build better relationships with their customers. And we manage the platform for them.
That's awesome.
So yeah, it's a fun thing to do, working with my daughter as well. It's great. I love working with her.
So what do you see as the future of your career, when you look 30, 40, 50 years ahead?
50 years ahead. I'm 103 at 50 years. So that's quite a ways. I very rarely think that far ahead, but in 10 years from now, let's just say, I still think I'll be helping people navigate in the casino industry, because I still have my consulting practice that I do on a regular basis with land-based casinos who are looking to go online and they don't quite understand it. And then online operators that are looking to speak to land-based operators and they don't know that language. And I act as sort of an intermediary between the two. So that I don't think will ever end. But with this other new business, again, in our mantra, it's helping companies build better relationships with their customers. So it's, in my mind, it's all about companies building brand loyalty to their business through the digital platforms that myself and other people like what we do.
So do you see building it and eventually selling it, or building it and just turning it into a massive business? I mean, what's the long-term vision
Oh,
for
the
it?
end game, the only reason to ever build a business is to sell it. I mean, it's fun to do. I'm not like the true entrepreneur that builds it and wants to sell it in a year's time or 2 years' time. Saying that, if I had an offer and it was the right deal, yeah, by all means, I'd have no problem with that. But I think we're helping people in such a way that it's, that's what's floating. That's what's floating my boat right now. So, but again, who knows what the future will bring? I know there's going to be some other competitors in this industry that are going to come in that are going to be way more well-funded than we are, because we bootstrapped the whole thing. I paid for everything. But I have a couple of things in my back pocket. I spoke to a private equity firm who we're actually looking at doing a roll-up, so making an acquisition of a company in the loyalty space, which is much bigger than what we are, roll our platform into what they already offer, and then grow that as a business that could then acquire other SaaS companies.
That's awesome. Well, Rob, I want to thank you very, very much for your time today. It's been a very interesting conversation, so I want to thank you. I do have one more question for you, then
Sure.
then we'll wrap it on up. But what question should I be asking you that I just wouldn't think to ask?
What question should you be asking me that you didn't think to ask? Again, knowing your show and what it's about, I'm going to say from an entrepreneurial perspective is how do you plan on doing something, right? So as I mentioned earlier at the show, we're in the process of moving, right? So, and maybe this is just me. I don't know if anybody else does this, but I took a legal pad of paper and I wrote down every single item that was in this house that was bigger than a bread box, meaning the furniture. And we've got tons of stuff in this house, right? And then allocated where's it going? So my daughter's getting married. She's moving out with her husband. They already moved out, but they're moving into a bigger place. So she's going to take, this furniture, that furniture. My son, he's got his home place. They're going to take this. Am I going to sell this? So the question that you're going to really ask is, as an entrepreneur, are you planning and logistically mapping out what your strategy is to execute what it is that you're looking to finish? So in my end game is obviously to clear this house out of everything and hand the keys over to the new owner. So I've got to think about where everything's going. I got to think about when I'm going to tell cable to turn the cable off and the internet and all that stuff. And I know this sounds easy and people move all the time, but I'm just trying to correlate it from an entrepreneur standpoint that I'm going to get into this new business and here's what I'm going to do, but I'm not going to really map it out. So if you don't know your end game, you don't know how you're going to get there. So I like to reverse engineer things, see where I'm going, and then back it out and say, what should I be doing? What would I look like 5 years from now, 4 years from now, 3, 2, 1, 6 months? What should I be doing today to get me closer to that goal? So I don't know how you would frame that in a question. Maybe you could do it, Ben. What kind of question would you answer or ask to get an answer like that?
Well, I think we kind of just did it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Well, that's awesome. Well, again, thank you very much, Rob.
I appreciate it.
I really do appreciate your time, and to everybody who's watching and listening, I want to thank y'all very, very much. Y'all rock, and I'm very glad that y'all chose to stick with us through this episode. There's a lot of interesting things here that I think you can really pick out and apply to your own business, to your own life, and see some really cool things happen. So thank you again, Rob, and I'll see all of you on the next episode. Take care now.
Thanks, man.